Yeah, I know it's been a while. Like, a really long while. And now, I could be generic and say the real reason why I didn't make videos, which was schoolwork, TV show binging, and my general laziness, but where's the fun in that? The real reason I haven't made a video was the Coca-Cola shortage of 2020. Specifically, the greatest soda ever created, just Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla Zero Sugar. This stuff is so good, and I noticed that I had a can of it each time I made a video. While I was writing a script, recording the lines, editing, each time I was sipping on liquid gold. But then, out of nowhere, roughly in August, I think, every box or bottle of Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla Zero Sugar mysteriously disappeared from every store in town. I thought Coke had discontinued it, but I guess not, since it's still listed on their website. But some of my dear friends still had some with them, and they so generously gave it to me. So now I have the fuel to make another video, which I've been putting off since August. I mean, I got a new mic on the day that I released the really bad Chronicle video, so now I don't need to use my crappy Apple headphones that I lost and can't use anyway. Anyway, on to the video. A long while ago, I watched every Illumination movie. Like, this was a long time ago, and I've been putting this off for a while. Anyway, it was not as awful as I suspected. Yeah, they have a reputation of... yeah, that, but after watching every Illumination movie, I found that most of them aren't very good, but the ones that are really good. So, it'd be pointless for me not to rank these movies. Like, why would I sit through 20 hours of this for fun? As per usual, I'm going to be ranking them, but they'll also have tiers. Why? Why? This movie should not exist. I mean, I can cut Illumination some slack because they didn't have much creative control, but still, this is so unbearably awful in every way. Our protagonists are so stupid. I mean, Russell Brand is just Russell Brand. He's the same person in every movie ever. And Chris from 30 Rock is a less interesting version of his character in the Sonic movie. The dialogue is so unnatural and absurd, and not in a good way.
That ain't no Etch-a-Sketch. This is one doodle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
Then again, Juno is the only movie I've ever seen that was able to pull off the alternate reality dialogue. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the jokes and Hop are bland and terribly unfunny, with the exception of the one on screen. I'll give credit where credit is due. The blending between animation and live action is really impressive, but that still doesn't excuse it from being a bad movie. Secret Life of Pets 2 is not a good movie. Honestly, it's more problematic than bad, because the lessons in this film are not good things to show to your children. More on that later. This movie feels like 3 different episodes of 3 different children's shows, following the adventures of 3 different, honestly pretty fun characters, but Max's subplot in particular is so awful in every way. Yes, Illumination, go ahead and tell parents to let their kids hurt themselves. Yeah, go ahead and tell kids not to listen to their doctors. I bet there will be no unintended consequences for that.
There! You're cured.
I mean, the voice cast does a fine job, but the whole movie is nothing special. The only thing that sticks out is the harmful messages that they're sending to children. Before we start, let me just say how much I love the Despicable Me movies. Like, the first 2 movies are genuine masterpieces, and it's one of my favorite franchises. But Minions is objectively a bad movie. And this movie makes me irrationally angry, because according to the ending of this abomination, Gru was just always a villain. Okay, Gru became a villain in his adulthood. Looking back at every flashback in the Despicable Me duology, it clearly shows why Gru became a villain. The years and years of neglect from his mother and everyone in his school affected his adult life, leading him to villainy. Searching for acceptance, which his mother never gives him. Implying that he was simply always a villain kinda ruins the greatness that the first 2 movies had going for Gru's backstory. This movie made me laugh 2 times, and they were all in the masterpiece that is the Minions torture scene. Like, the rest of this movie can go F off. It shouldn't exist. I'm just gonna block it out of my memory. It never happened. Despicable Me 3 is the worst Despicable Me movie because Minions doesn't exist. I mean, even though this movie's still bad, it's bearable. Like, I can acknowledge its existence, so that's something. I mean, this movie feels very cash grabby and not original at all. A secret twin brother that the audience never knew about, and a girl trying to find a unicorn by being pure of heart. Now, ignoring all the Gravity Falls subplots, there's so much worthless 80s pandering in this, and it all comes from my favorite Despicable Me villain. I absolutely adore Balthazar Brat. Yeah, his 80s references are even more obnoxious than the entirety of Ready Player One, but come on. Trey Parker gives such an amazing performance that he carries the entire movie on his back. Too bad he's barely in it. So much of this movie is wasted on the girls doing nothing, Drew being annoying, and ruining Gru's backstory. It's all over the place. I mean, some scenes are phenomenal, but most of it is surprisingly boring. Secret Life of Pets is just a kids movie. I mean, trust me, I hate calling an animated film just a kids movie. I believe that animation is one of the most creative mediums of filmmaking. Animation is in desperate need of the respect it deserves, and it slows down the progress when someone calls an animated movie just a kids movie. Oh boy, this movie is nothing. I don't hate this movie, but I don't like it either. It's so unoriginal. Like, in the past, I've said the same thing about Toy Story 3. Now, after a bunch of rewatching, I actually love Toy Story 3. That movie is so good, and I honestly have no idea why I said it was bad, because it's not a bad movie, but Secret Life of Pets is an example of an unoriginal movie, unlike Toy Story. Once I saw something that actually stole plot points from Toy Story, then I kind of just took back everything I said about Toy Story 3. Secret Life of Pets is bad. And not only that, like, once this movie is over, I just immediately forgot about it. Like, it's such a boring movie, and I'm glad that I never have to watch it again. The Lorax is not a good movie. Like, yeah, there are some unbelievably fantastic moments, like Ed Helms as the Onceler and Danny DeVito as the Lorax. Like, this is a perfect cast. And for the first time on this list, this movie should exist. I still find it better than the 1972 original, but that one's not very good either. The reason this movie honestly hurts to watch is because of how much missed potential there was. I mean, listen to the soundtrack, especially the cut songs, especially Biggering. Like, these hint at what the movie could have been, and honestly, I don't think Illumination should have handled this movie. Like, just imagine if this was a project tackled by DreamWorks. DreamWorks is able to tackle something as dark as what this should have been. I mean, look at Megamind, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda. The Lorax should have gone all out, but Illumination doesn't want to taint their kid-friendly brand. I'll definitely make an entire video about this later on. Sing is odd. I mean, it honestly depends on how I'm feeling that day. It's a very competent movie. It's even better than some DreamWorks movies.
Bruh.
This movie was probably just made to sell soundtracks and to get Taron Egerton to play Elton John and Rocketman. It's an interesting situation. This movie probably would have been a lot better if it didn't have the competition that it had in 2016. There's a better animated anthropomorphic animal movie in 2016. A better animated movie riddled with cheesy pop music. I mean, I would say a better Illumination movie with animals, but that'd be wrong. So why is Sing worth your time? The cast. The cast in this movie is outstanding. I mean, every character is perfectly cast, and they all feel real. Like, they aren't defined by one character trait. I mean, except for Nick Kroll's character, who's so incredibly obnoxious. But ignoring him, this movie is really solid, and I'd say it's worth your time. I think the world generally agrees that Despicable Me is a fantastic movie, and I do as well. I mean, this movie's amazing. Although I can't comment on whether it's better than Megamind.
Don't even joke about that kind of thing.
It's still a fantastic movie nonetheless. Although yes, this movie did give us those evil abominations known as the Minions, but they're honestly pretty funny in this movie. I mean, when used sparingly, the Minions can be a useful comedic device. Not to mention how perfect Vector is as a villain. And yes, the animation can be pretty dated and the humor can be pretty childish, but overall this is a really great movie with a lot of heart. And I will admit it made me cry a bit. Also, the soundtrack by Pharrell Williams really slaps. Despicable Me 2 is better than the first. I mean, it takes everything the first movie does right and does it again. It's the same style of humor, the same atmosphere, the same amount of minions. This movie manages to feel original. For one thing, the cinematography is outstanding. I mean, there's quite a bit of wide shots in this film, and they all look great. The jokes are also really funny in this one, arguably even funnier than the first movie. The animation is fantastic. I mean, it's a huge improvement. Most of the locations are huge and vast, making it more fun to watch, seeing all these beautiful locales. I mean, if Frozen wasn't so amazing, I'd say this movie deserved the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. I mean, it was the only Illumination movie to be nominated for an Oscar, and it was nominated for 2. Yeah, The Grinch is fantastic. Okay, before I geek out on one of my favorite Christmas movies, I need to explain why I absolutely hate the Jim Carrey one. I mean, that movie is so hilariously awful in every way. I mean, for one, why is every single shot a Dutch angle? Dutch angles make the audience feel stress and tension, and invoke a sense of queasiness. This movie stresses me out. I mean, it hurts to watch. Most of the time, the stress is unintentional. I mean, how is two ladies giving a baby some cookies supposed to stress me out? Straighten the camera! I mean, the set design is also really boring. I mean, for a movie based on a Dr. Seuss book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas feels really bland. And the acting is like way over the top. I mean, Jim Carrey's the only good part of this movie, and he gets really annoying after a while. I mean, I like Ron Howard, but this is one of his worst movies. Alright, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I mean, I adore Illumination's The Grinch. This movie is everything the original should have been. It's heartfelt, emotional, hilarious, and it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is Illumination's best looking movie by far. The attention to detail that they put into every footprint in the snow, every tuft of fur, is still fascinating. I mean, come on, look at that! Look at that! This movie is also really funny. I mean, like the scene with the Christmas carolers is genuinely one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Not only is it funny, but it's really sweet. Again, I cried after this movie. The ending scene is genuine perfection. Overall, this movie will be one of my favorite Christmas movies, and it's definitely my personal favorite Illumination. So that's my ranking of the Illumination movies. I know that I'm gonna get a lot of hate because apparently people like the 2000 Grinch movie.
What are you, taking stupid pills? Come on.
But yeah, I forgot that I planned on releasing this video on Christmas Day, so yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a wonderful end of year season celebrating whatever you celebrate. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.